Hello, thank you for joining us for this presentation for the Fiscal Year 2022 Thrive Funding Overview and Guidelines. My name is Natalie Alfaro-Frazier, and I'm a Program Coordinator with Metro Arts. This presentation will cover both Cycle 1 and Cycle 2 of Thrive Funding. We are currently in Cycle 1 of funding, and the deadline to apply is July 26th. The Cycle 2 funding deadline is October 25th. Let's start with some background information on what the Thrive program is. Thrive is a funding program that was set up outside of Metro Arts' traditional grant funding programs to open up funding opportunities to individuals and organizations that historically have not been eligible for a Metro Arts grant. Thrive is a funding program designed to build, strengthen, and cultivate communities in Nashville and Davidson County by supporting artist-led projects that encourage artistic and cultural experiences, community investment, and neighborhood transformation. Successful Thrive projects will promote artistic excellence, impact neighborhoods, actively engage residents in the planning and art-making process, promote cultural equity, and new this year, we are asking that Thrive projects adhere to required public health and social distancing protocols. You can read more about the Thrive program at our website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. The Thrive program supports Metro Arts' overall outcomes of vibrant creative neighborhoods, stronger creative workers, and deeper cultural participation to lead us to the Metro Arts vision of a creative life for all Nashvillians. Let's get into some of the highlights from the Thrive guidelines. You can find the full guidelines at our website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. If you have not done so already, we highly recommend you look through these guidelines, as the guidelines will detail everything you'll need to know to submit a successful application in Thrive project. Please note the page numbers listed on the side of the slides. These are specific pages you can visit in the guidelines for more information. First, we will cover Cycle 1. The application deadline for Cycle 1 is July 26th. 2021. Cycle 1 has up to $9,500 in funding per project. These projects support artist-led, community-based art projects that include collaboration between artists and community partners and organizations. This is open to individual artists, artist teams, and organizations. The project must take place between October 1st, 2021 and June 15th, 2022. Here are some general guidelines about Cycle 2. We will get into more details about Cycle 2 later. The projects in Cycle 2 are eligible for up to $5,000 per project. Cycle 2 supports artists who are newer to community practice and/or Metro Arts funding and are looking to bring their artistic skills to their community. Cycle 2 is open to individual artists or artist teams and will prioritize artists who have not previously received Thrive funds. The project must take place in the community between January 1st, 2022 and June 15th, 2022. In addition to the community practice piece, the project will produce a final visual work to be shown at a special gallery show at the Parthenon West Gallery from September 15th to December 31st, 2022. Applications for Cycle 2 are due October 25th, 2021. Now let's dive into a little more detail about Cycle 1 by looking at project eligibility. For a project to be eligible for Cycle 1 funding, there needs to be collaboration between at least one professional artist and at least one community partner organization. The project must serve a specific community or neighborhood and must directly involve community members in both design and implementation of the project. The project must be open to the public and both accessible and welcoming to people of all cultural backgrounds, economic status, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, and abilities. The project must exhibit a commitment to people who have been historically underrepresented in mainstream arts funding, discourse, leadership, and resource allocation. This includes, but is not limited to, people of color, seniors, differently abled people, LGBTQI+ people, women, and the socioeconomically disadvantaged. Projects that will be ineligible for Thrive funding include projects being funded by any grant administered by Metro Arts, previously funded Thrive projects, and already completed projects or projects taking place outside of the project funding period. In the case of a project that is working with youth, please note that there are additional narrative questions in the application. The project must include experienced youth engagement practitioners or teaching artists, and background checks are required for all project staff working directly with youth or in youth settings. Additionally, if the proposed project is a public art project, there are additional guidelines. First, Metro Arts defines public art as a temporary artwork that exists in a public space that is accessible to the general public, including privately owned property such as a local business or organization. There will be additional questions as part of the application, and a photo of the proposed project site will be required. There must be a plan for long-term maintenance and/or removal of the artwork. If the artwork is on private property, a signed letter of support from the property owner is required at the time of the application submission. Please note that Thrive funds support the creation and maintenance of public artworks with a lifespan of no more than 18 months. Now we will move on to the eligibility guidelines for applicants. Both individual artists and artist teams may apply. Applicant artists must be 18 or older and must live or primarily work in Davidson County. Businesses and organizations include nonprofit, for-profit, and neighborhood groups located in Davidson County. Also, there must be a professional artist identified to lead the project. There are specific things that funds can and cannot be used for. First, we will start with what Thrive funds can be used for, which include artist fees, professional fees, project coordinator fees, and non-durable project and program supplies. Funds for Thrive projects cannot be used for capital improvements, purchase of property or equipment purchases, reduction of debts, food or beverage, activities or programs with religious content, political lobbying activities, fundraising events, purchase of property, performance space or facility rental, marketing and promotion or durable program project supplies, such as items that will outlast the length of the project, public art project maintenance beyond 18 months after creation of the artwork. That concludes some of the details about Cycle 1 eligibility, and we're going to look at an overview of the application components and coming timeline. First, the application will be completed on Submittable, and you can find the link to the application on our website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. The application will include a budget form, project timeline, artist supporting materials, artist resume or CV, social distancing plan, one letter of recommendation, and if applicable for a public arts project, a letter of support from a property owner and a photo of the proposed artwork site will be required. Here are some important dates for the Cycle 1 application process. Applications are due on July 26th. Again, the application can be accessed from our website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. The initial eligibility review by Metro Arts staff will be July 17th through July 30th. On August 20th, we will hold the community panel review, and awards will be announced by September 17th, 2021. That concludes the information about Cycle 1 of Thrive funding. Please review the Thrive guidelines thoroughly before submitting your application. The application, the guidelines, and additional information all can be found on our website. On the last slide of this presentation, you will find email addresses for your convenience if any other further questions remain. Now we are switching gears to information regarding Cycle 2 of Fiscal Year 22 Thrive funding. The application deadline is October 25th, 2021. For Cycle 2 projects, there's up to $5,000 eligible per project. Cycle 2 will support artists who are newer to community practice and/or Metro Arts funding and are looking to bring their artistic skills to their community. Cycle 2 funding is open to both individual artists or artist teams, and priority will be given to those who have not received Thrive funds in the past. The project must take place in the community between January 1st, 2022 and June 15th, 2022. We are excited to announce that, in partnership with the Parthenon, the project will participate in a special gallery show at the Parthenon West Gallery with a final visual work. The show will run September 15th to December 31st, 2022. Remember, additional details about Cycle 2 can be found in the Thrive guidelines on our website. Cycle 2 projects must serve a specific identified community or neighborhood and must directly involve community members in the design and implementation of the project. As stated on the previous slide, the projects must be conducted in the community between January 1st and June 15th, 2022. All projects must be open to the public, accessible and welcoming to people of all cultural backgrounds, economic status, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, and abilities. Projects must exhibit commitment to people who have been historically underrepresented in mainstream arts funding, discourse, leadership, and resource allocation, including but not limited to people of color, seniors, differently abled people, LGBTQI people, women, and the socioeconomically disadvantaged. It is important to note that Cycle 2 projects must result in a finished, tangible visual artwork or exhibit piece. This final piece will be displayed at a museum gallery show at the Parthenon West Gallery between September 15th and December 31st, 2022. This final piece should have minimum dimensions of 12 by 12 inches and maximum dimensions of 60 by 60 inches. Throughout the project, there will be staff from Parthenon West Gallery available to advise artists on the final art piece. Some more details about the Parthenon West Gallery show can be found in the Thrive guidelines. Some important pieces to note. The final art piece may be produced collaboratively by the community, or it may be the lead artist's own work that is inspired by the community art project. Cycle 2 is not limited to visual arts, but the project should produce a tangible visual art piece that conveys the spirit or impact of the project to be included in the Parthenon West Gallery exhibit. A central theme for the pieces to be included in the exhibition are visual stories from communities celebrating Nashville's vibrant and diverse neighborhoods. Just as in Cycle 1, projects are ineligible for Cycle 2 funding if the project is being funded by any grant administered by Metro Arts, or if it is a previously funded Thrive project or projects, or is an already completed project taking place outside of the project funding period. Just as in the case for Cycle 1, there are additional guidelines for projects that are engaging with youth. You can find more about this in page 13 of the Thrive guidelines. Similarly, there are additional guidelines for public art projects. These are laid out in detail in the Thrive guidelines and were touched on in the Cycle 1 section. It is important to note that in addition to the narrative questions in the application, there is also a required letter of support from the property owner, which must be submitted with the application. Remember that public art is defined as a temporary artwork that exists in a public space that is accessible to the general public, including privately owned property such as local businesses or organizations. Now let's look at who is eligible for funding in Cycle 2. Both individual artists or artists' teams are eligible. The applicant must be 18 years or older and must live or primarily work in Davidson County. Priority will be given to artists who have not been awarded Thrive funding or other Metro Arts funding in the past. The funding allowances are the same in Cycle 1 and Cycle 2, and be sure to look these over before submitting your application. You can find these on page 15 of the Thrive Guidelines. Similarly, the funding restrictions are the same in Cycle 1 and Cycle 2. For a list of things that Cycle 2 funding cannot be used for, you can find more information on page 15 through 16 in the Thrive Guidelines. Here are some important dates for the Cycle 2 application process. All of these dates can be found in the Thrive Guidelines as well. Applications are due on October 25th, 2021. Applications will be submitted through Submittable, and the link to the application can be found on our website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. The initial eligibility review by Metro Arts staff will be October 25th through the 29th, and the community panel review will be on November 17th, 2021. Awards will be announced on December 17th, 2021. The project process also has some important dates to remember. January 1st through May 20th, 2022 will be the mentoring and training period for the project. February 1st through June 15th, 2022 will be the project period, and the Parthenon Gallery exhibit will be from September 15th to December 31st, 2022. You can visit our website for more examples of recently funded Thrive projects. In the past, these projects have included virtual poetry and music shows, online improv, dance, art, and music classes, online writing workshops, and virtual concerts. We have also seen billboard murals and many more creative ideas. You can find more examples at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. Some special considerations when applying for Thrive funding include: have a backup plan for any social distancing requirements that may become necessary. Think about what success looks like for the project and for the community. And finally, have a plan for managing the funding and communication with Metro Arts. For both Cycle 1 and Cycle 2, the application scoring rubric will be looking at artistic excellence, community engagement and placemaking, feasibility and logistics, and cultural equity. Applicants can earn up to 5 points in each of the 4 categories. Before we begin wrapping up, we will address some frequently asked questions. First, when are you anticipating projects in this round to begin? Cycle 1 projects should take place between October 1st, 2021 and June 15th, 2022. Cycle 2 projects should take place between January 1st and June 15th, 2022. Another question: I'm a past Thrive recipient. Can I propose a project that uses a similar model to a past project, but serves a new community, engages new partnerships, and addresses issues specific to that community? Will this be different enough? The answer is yes, and we look forward to looking at your application. Another frequently asked question is: our organization plays traditional music, not original music. Is our project eligible for Thrive funding? The answer is yes, traditional music is eligible as long as the songs are not licensed. Another question If we are applying as an organization, should we submit work samples from the lead artist or examples of work produced by our organization? For example, samples of artwork produced by our program participants. The answer is that either option is acceptable. Choose the work samples that make the best case for your organization to lead the project. Another question that we've received is that I received Thrive funding last fiscal year. Can I apply again this year? The answer is yes, you are eligible to receive Thrive funding once per fiscal year. Another question is, if I apply in cycle 1 and my project is not funded, can I apply again in cycle 2? And the answer is yes. You can apply in cycle 1. If it's not funded, go ahead and apply again in cycle 2. Thank you for joining us for this presentation about FY22 Thrive funding. After you submit your application, be sure to check your email and voicemail throughout the initial eligibility and review by Metro Arts staff. Staff may contact you during this time for additional information. Again, for cycle 1, the initial eligibility review is September 16th through the 18th, 2021. And for cycle 2, it's October 25th through the 29th, 2021. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions that are not covered in the Thrive Guidelines document or on our website at metroartsnashville.com/thrive. You can email our Strategic Funding and Initiatives Manager, Janine Cristiano, at janine.cristiano@nashville.gov, or our Program and Evaluator Coordinator, Marissa LaRoe, at marissa.laroe@nashville.gov for further guidance. We look forward to reviewing your application for fiscal year 22 Thrive. Thank you.